Correct.
That is correct. We're in the process of going live to YouTube.
We can still carry on business informationally, right? We just can't vote on anything, or
Cannot act.
correct? Yeah.
I thought before we couldn't even start the official work session until we had a quorum.
I know that you're with Sharon's looking it up, but I believe that you're without authority to act. And it's also a question of whether you want to have to fill in everybody else and what you've done when they arrive.
Right now, we'll wait another minute or so, but I'm assuming at least one more person will be.
Problem is solved.
Councilman Burns has arrived.
Okay, he'll get settled in a second. Okay, we will get started. Welcome everyone to the City of Binghamton City Council work session for Tuesday, July 5th, 2022. Please stand for the pledge. Pledge allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the
to the
flag
flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Clerk, will you take a roll call for us, please?
Councilman Scringy,
Present.
Councilwoman Resnetti is absent. Councilwoman Riley is also absent. Councilwoman Friedman,
Present.
Councilman Burns,
Present.
Councilman Scanlon appears to be absent as well, and President Strawn.
Present.
So that's 4 here, 3 absent: Resnetti, Riley, and Scanlon.
Okay, thank you for that. We will get started on our agenda. Do we have, I see Dan Merkel's first. Is he there or a representative thereof for DPW?
I do not see him here.
Okay.
He's on vacation, but I'm happy to stand in for him.
Okay, go ahead, Sharon.
RL 22-176, which is a resolution to amend multiple budget lines to cover the cost of gas and diesel fuel to city vehicles. There's an attachment to the legislation which describes the transfer amounts. As you may be aware, the cost of gas has risen, and we have additional need for gas for the remainder of the year, fuel, gas, diesel. And therefore, we would ask that council approve this resolution. It's also requested to be expedited due to the current need. And to be fair, this did come up at our discussion. This will likely not be the last submission for additional fuel, gas, diesel additions to the 2022 budget.
Okay, Councilwoman Friedman, I see you have a question. Go ahead.
Thank you, President Strawn. Sharon just answered the question I was about to ask.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions or comments on RL 22-176?
Mr. President.
Go ahead, Councilman Scringy.
Thank you, Mr. President. Hey, Sharon, how are you? Forgive me, I don't know if this is a question for Sharon and or Chuck, but if there's an inherent need, should we look to potentially even amend this to add more?
Gio, I've looked at it, and are we going to need more in the future? I think so. I just don't know which line I'm going to pull it from at this point in time.
Okay.
So this gets us by it, hopefully till September.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Yep, thank you. Anything else on RL 22-176? Okay, move on to RL 22-178 and 182.
RL 22-178 is an ordinance to amend the 2022 Department of Public Works budget primarily to account for general operating supplies by an additional $10,000. It's cost neutral in the sense that it's an interdepartmental transfer.
Okay, any questions or comments for on RL 22-178? Okay, let's go to 22-182.
RL 22-182 is submitted by the Commissioner of Public Works, which is an ordinance to amend the 2022 refuse budget. The proposal would be to decrease personal services and increase overtime and vehicle repair. As several of you may be aware, our painting crew has been out in the streets repainting our streetscapes, and we've incurred a significant amount of overtime in the street work side as well as the vehicle repair side, and that's why we're requesting the services. And there is money in the street maintainers and TSO budget lines based off of vacancies.
Okay, Councilwoman Freeman, go ahead with a question.
Thank you, President Strawn. Hi, Sharon. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Been better. I'm a little sick, but thank you for asking. So I'm wondering, is this a typical overtime, or like what was it about this year that made this transfer necessary?
So I can speak a little bit to that, as the commissioner and I spoke last week about increased overtime, primarily in signals and streets, having to do with repairing of lights. I think that had to do with the storm, as well as, again, painting streets that had been priorly milled and paved for things like parking. Apparently, there's just been additional labor needed. We have, as council may not be aware, different sub-departments in the Department of Public Works. And one of those is kind of signals and streets versus sanitation. And this is particularly for the streets department. I can get more specifics from you from Danny, I should say from Bernice, if you'd like, but that's my understanding of it. And Chuck, is there anything you'd like to add to that?
Chair, no, I had a couple other things. Back in 2020, beginning of the pandemic, we had budgeted $40,000, and we used very little in 2020 and 21. So we had cut the budget from 40,000 down to 25,000 in 22. But this year we're spending, we're at 25,000 right now. So I think part of it is a budgeting thing too. In prior years before that, we spent anywhere from 32,000 to 44,000.
I see. So this is kind of like going off of the budget from 2020, which was abnormally low, and then this is bringing it back up to what it usually is?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you for explaining.
Okay, any other questions or comments on RL 22-182? Okay, we will move on. We have Pat McGinnis out there for the next two RLs.
No.
Anybody? Should we come back to this? Megan, are you going to do this? What are we doing here?
I think I can do it.
Okay, Chuck, go ahead. RL 22-181 and 183.
I mean, the first one is an ordinance to amend the 22 fee schedule for carousel maintenance donations. People at times donate money, and this is what account it's going to go to, where in the past it used to go to a TA account. It's now going to go into a TC account. And as we get that money, we make it available in a capital line.
Okay, any Councilwoman Freeman, go ahead.
Thank you, President Strawn. Sorry, Chuck, can you explain what is the difference between a TA and a TC account, please?
TA used to be a trust account, and the state has basically removed that title, and make it now a trust custodian account. Okay, it's something they did 2 years ago. So any donations now go into a TC account rather than a TA account.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Okay, any other questions or comments on RL 22-181? Okay, RL 22-183.
Sharon, I'll let you talk about this one. This is, I think you know about, is taking people from Broome Tiger BOCES to assist us with the Binghamton Summer Fund Program. There's no cost to the city. I think it's just a resolution allowing us to do it. Is that correct, Sharon?
Yes, 22-183 was resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into agreement with Broome Tioga BOCES New York Summer Youth Employment Program for 3 temporary workers for the City of Binghamton Summer Fund Program that occurs in 2022. This is at no cost to the city. It enables essentially assistance for work site agreements for summer youth. So they get some exposure, not only through the BOCES system, but also to working within the city of Binghamton. It's a separate program and they're responsible. I should see BOCES Tioga is responsible for those employees.
Hey guys, I'm here as well. Sorry, I got sidetracked.
Go ahead, Pat.
Yeah, so I think you just kind of hit on it. We've done this in the past with BOCES. These kids would be working at our sites at Sherry Lindsay Park, Rec Park, and Webster Street Park. 1 as a work experience and 2 to help our programs along.
Okay, any questions or comments on RL 22-183? Councilwoman Friedman, go ahead.
Thank you, President Strawn. Hi, Pat, how are you?
Good, how about you?
I'm okay. Thanks for asking. So I see that it says that worksite supervision is unpaid and voluntary. So how are the youth paired up with the supervisors? Like, what is there an application process, or can you talk more about how the youth are placed with?
Yes, so BOCES actually does the legwork on the placement. So the program, the kids apply through BOCES, and BOCES does all the legwork of finding sites, finding hosts. So they came to us saying originally 2, and then they brought us a 3rd one. So then those kids, once they're placed, will actually work with our staff that's already there. So like our, each site has a different supervisor for the camp that's there. So they'll work with them directly.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, no problem.
Also find in your packet the prior RL from 2020 that were the same program.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions on RL 22-183? Okay, we will move on to RL 22-179. I don't see Steve on here. Is he down there? Is he down there next to Brian? Okay, cool. Good to see you, Steve. I will go ahead with RL 22-179.
Okay, so this is a second amendment to an already existing modified contract with First Ward Action Council. This is another extension to their senior home repair program. This will extend it to the end of the current HUD fiscal year, which will be August 30th, 2022. We are doing this as a bridge enabled in order for us to get everything in line with them so that they can start anew on September 1st. So it's basically a way for us to continue providing the senior home repairs up until that point where the new contract will kick in.
Okay, thank you. Any questions or comments for Steve on RL 22-179?
Yeah, I do.
Go ahead, Councilman Burns.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. Yeah, Steve, this program, I happen to have the mayor announced this, I guess, last week, over on Mill Street.
Mhm.
And so some friends of mine saw it who are seniors, who, one of them has on a fixed income and his roof is leaking. So who do they deal with the city? Do they have to go to the First Ward Action Council for this?
Correct. First Ward Action Council administers the program.
Okay. And do we have any program for seniors to help? with
We
their
don't
home?
have a separate one. We're the ones who fund the First Ward Action Council program. That program specifically for seniors. We have a separate rehab program for homeowners of essentially any age, as long as they meet the income requirements, but that has a long waiting list.
Right. Is there an income requirement with a senior?
Yes, there is.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments on RL 22-179? Okay, thanks, Steve.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. We will go on to RL 22-173. Franco, will you be doing that instead of Ron?
Yes, and good evening,
ahead.
council members. Hopefully you can hear me. Yes.
Yeah, we hear you.
This 22-173 is for city council to agree that the city of Binghamton will be the lead agency to take care of some of the repairs. I believe that's on page 6 or 7. You'll have a map there of all the locations. Currently, they're under design, and it's just a formality for New York State DEC and the Army Corps.
27 of your packets, and then the seeker determination immediately precedes it.
Okay, thank you. Any questions or comments from anyone on RL 22-173? Go ahead, Councilwoman Freeman.
Thank you, President Strawn. Hi, Franco. How are you?
Great, how you doing? I hope you're feeling
Doing-
better.
Thank you. Doing okay. I'm trying not to spread my germs around. So I noticed that this RL has the City of Binghamton City Council as lead agency. Is that typical? I feel like it's usually the City of Binghamton, right?
Page number 2 of that has a resolution itself. And it does say,
Solution itself is
Yeah.
the city of Binghamton is proposing the flood control. And it determined that the city of Binghamton and mayor hereby authorized, yes, it. City of Binghamton, city clerk and city council together with the attorney are hereby authorized to take all the actions. It's basically city council. Somebody has to do the review and go through the checklist to do that. And what we're asking is that you would be the folks who would go off to review it. Obviously based upon advice and consent from our office, from engineering, from other departments. But some public body has to go through that checklist to make sure the boxes are checked to declare a neg deck or declare a pos deck if you need to at the end.
I see. So that could be the mayor, or it could be city council, or it could be vague.
No, it has to be it has to be a body that can vote. It has to be an up or down vote.
Oh, I see.
So council will be the body to do that.
So it's very typical for seeker determinations for city actions that are not third-party applications through either ZBA or PC to go through city council as the lead agency. They're the agency to designate if the jurisdiction is not within the PC or ZBA.
I see. Okay. I think that was my only question on this. Well, let's see. So, okay, so city council is responsible then for declaring a negative seeker declaration. So,
Yeah, actually, you're not responsible for doing a neg deck. You're responsible for doing a seeker review, and you let the chips fall where it may based upon the evidence that you get that presented to you.
gotcha. Okay, so I noticed that in this checklist, there are some, usually when we get seeker reviews, they're like, this will not affect like a bunch of things. And there are some things on here that would be affected, like the endangered, threatened or endangered species, increasing the stormwater discharge and other things that make me want, I don't know if I'm qualified to then determine that this would be negative based on this information. Like, I don't
Yeah,
quite.
so
know
what
the
happens is
question
there's a
but-
potential for it to be declared a minimal or small impact. And if it's
Okay.
a minimal to small impact, when we do these forms, you have to say, yes, it could have some impact. What we'd be asking you, is it a minimal, small impact, or is it a large impact? If it's a minimal to small impact, you can proceed and still do a negative deck. So what the form is saying, yep, it's going to have some impact on that. But in retrospect, it's probably going to be small or minimal impact.
Gotcha.
And if you want important information, you can always ask about it. And also, I mean, the endangered species, I believe, in the rivers are like mussels. They're down by they're in the river. This work could have an impact on it, but I can guarantee you it's going to be designed and done in a way that it's going to minimize that impact.
Okay. Yeah, that does answer my question. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments on RL 22-173?
I want to thank you for answering those questions, Sharon and Brian.
Yeah, yes, thank you for jumping in there. Okay, Franco, we'll move on to RL 22-177.
22-177, we are asking council's approval to approve Atlantic Testing Laboratories for materials testing throughout the city of Binghamton in a term agreement. Any department can use them, and the maximum annual shall not exceed $50,000 under this term agreement. And you'll see their proposals from pages 2 through.
Okay, thank you. Any questions or comments on RL 22-177? Okay, thanks, Franco. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a great evening.
Yep, you too.
I know.
Okay, we'll move on. We have Megan with RL 22-180.
Yep, thanks, President Strong. 22-180, this is a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with CARES to allocate funds for the annual backpack and school supply program. This funding allows CARES to purchase 1,000 backpacks and school supplies to fill those backpacks for City of Binghamton students. We've been doing this program since 2017, so this is our 2022 version.
Okay, thank you. Any questions, comments for Megan on RL 22-180? Okay, thanks, Megan. Appreciate it. Okay, we'll move on. We have Chuck and Sarah on RL 22-174.
Pardon me. This is RL 22-174, an ordinance to amend the 2022 general fund budget to create a budget line and fund budget line to pay for maintenance at the Binghamton cogeneration plant. Essentially, we had a pipe that is leaking. We just need Evans Mechanical to go in and fix it. So we're moving the money from one line to another to accommodate those maintenance repairs.
Okay, thank you. Any questions or comments for Sarah or Chuck on RL 22-174? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Good night. Okay, we have Chuck on RL 22-175.
22-175 is a resolution to amend the 22 insurance fund budget for additional demolition expenses at 159 Conklin Ave that we're going to be reimbursed for. We anticipate, we came down with originally, I think, $102,000 about a month ago, and another bill came in for additional services of asbestos testing afterwards. That's what this is for. And at this point in time, the owner of that property is making contact about making payments to us for all of it. Is it
The
insurance?
insurance company is making
Okay.
contact.
Any questions?
What'd you say, Brian? The insurance company's making contact, you said?
Yes, the insurance company is making arrangements to pay while to reimburse the city on this project.
Oh, okay. So the additional, they're gonna fill in that hole and get the sidewalk back open and stuff like that. Is that part of it or?
Actually, just this afternoon, the code officer sent me pictures of that. I intend to forward that on to the insurance company and advise them that if they don't fill it in, we probably will. It'll be another expense. They can probably do it cheaper and better. Not
Okay.
better, but they can definitely do it cheaper. And so we need to, I'll be asking them to do that, yes.
Yeah, it's definitely a hazard the way it is right now.
Yep.
Okay,
They've actually been cited. The owner's been cited for it already, so I'm gonna raise that with them as well.
okay, thank you. Okay, any other questions or comments on RL 22-175? Okay, thank you for that. We appreciate it. Okay, Mr. Clerk, do we anything noteworthy on pending legislation to be prepared for tomorrow night? Anything else?
No, we just have 5 items here for pending legislation, and then the ones that were expedited tonight. We still have the public hearing that's open as well.
Right, so we will, yeah, if you notice on your agenda, the public hearing that remained open for, I believe, 30 days up until the 11th. And that being said, I know there's only 4 of us here, but are we still good, at least from the 4 of our concerns, on doing the special meeting on Monday, the 11th for the CDBG budget? The final the end of the public hearing, public comment. This will be kind of the same. Technically, I guess it's different, but in essence, it'll be the same thing for that night since they have to speak on that subject matter at hand for a special meeting. So what time did we talk about for that? Does anybody remember? Did we talk about 6 or a little bit earlier or?
6 p.m., Mr. President.
Okay. So Mr. Clerk, Janine, 6 o'clock on the 11th, we'll schedule that special meeting and get that notice out, et cetera.
Okay, we'll get that notice out.
Okay. Thank you very much. Okay, before we end tonight, our corporate counsel has asked for a few minutes of an executive session to brief us on a few things. So I just wanted to give Janine or whoever a minute or so to kind of any logistics. I don't see any attendees on the actual Zoom, but
Before we go
somebody
off
out there.
air,
Go ahead.
yeah, before we go, I'd ask that there be a motion to go into executive session to discuss litigation or ongoing litigation. Probably should be a motion that should be approved, seconded and approved.
Yep.
Then
I was just going to do that. I was just letting anybody that's viewing on public know that we are doing that so they realize if the YouTube ends or whatever so that's notice to anybody else viewing that we'll be going into executive session. Can I have a motion to enter an executive session with our corporate counsel?
So moved, Mr. President.
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
And then just before we turn it off, what's going to happen is they're going to turn off the YouTube. There'll be no other business taken after we come out of executive session, other than if there was a vote to authorize us to proceed. And I don't anticipate such a vote in this circumstance. I simply want to give information in executive session. So there'll be nothing further after. And anything that would be done will be reflected in the minutes, which will be posted later.
Okay.
By the clerk.
But we will wait till then to officially end the work session, correct?
That, yes, officially it will end after this update is over. If
Okay.
you so choose.
All right, we'll let the clerks let us know if they're logistically ready, and then you can go ahead when